This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is, Ira. And tell me, man, how impressed were you with Shaq and Kobe Part 2 in Philadelphia last night, huh? How impressed were you with James Harden in a big moment once again?
You know what? I don't know if I was impressed. Honestly, Big O, I'm more terrified. And I'm working on this for my Sunday column for the Sun Sentinel. You can say what you want.
I know
there's a chance the Heat are number 1 and the Nets are number 8, and you and I are reliving the Allen Houston shot all over again. Oh, I want you to take your emotion out of it. I know that you're a Heat fan, and you've been there from day one. You've been in the locker room. You've been a Heat beat person when radio had Heat beat people. If you had to bet your mortgage, if you had to bet something important to you, something meaningful to you on a Heat Nets first round series, who would you put your money on? Honestly,
Miami.
You would, over Brooklyn.
Yes, the better coaching staff, the better defensive disposition from beginning to end, the deeper team. Philadelphia does not possess any of those traits. They are not proven.
No, I'm talking over the Nets. I'm talking over Brooklyn.
But what I'm telling you is what they faced last night is nothing like what they're going to face in Miami. They're going to face a much mentally tougher team, a much better defensive team, a much deeper team, and maybe the best coach in the NBA, period.
Okay.
Eric Spoelstra. So,
Your Honor, let me rephrase. We'll play a little Big O game show here as you sit there at Acura Pembroke Pines.
I'm cocky.
In the first round of the NBA playoffs, who would you prefer to play? The Brooklyn Nets or Toronto Raptors?
Oh, the Raptors. I want the easier matchup. In the first round
of the NBA playoffs, who would you prefer to play? The Brooklyn Nets or the Atlanta Hawks?
The Hawks.
In the first round of the NBA playoffs, Mr. Orlando Alzugaray, who would you prefer to play? The Brooklyn Nets or the Cleveland Cavaliers?
The Cavs.
In the first round of the playoffs, Mr. Alzugaray, sir, who would you rather play, the Brooklyn Nets or the Boston Celtics?
The Celtics. They're soft. They haven't proven anything.
This is a bunch of BS that you bust your ass for an entire season to get the number 1 seed. You play through injuries. You play through COVID. You play through everything. And the number 2, the number 3, and the number 4 seeds could wind up with less treacherous matchups. Already today, Zach Lowe at ESPN.com and over at The Ringer, same thing. Kevin O'Connor, both have said the same thing. If ever there is a reason to let NBA top seeds draft their opponent, this should be the year for this reason. And as I'm writing in my Sunday column, The Sun Sentinel, in 1999, the Knicks were a bad team through most of the season because Latrell Sprewell was out with a fracture, missed about 2 months, sort of similar to what Kevin Durant went through with his knee. Yeah. All of a sudden, we get to the playoffs. The Heat are a number 1 seed. The Knicks are number 8.
All the way into the final.
Now, granted, it was best of 5, not best of 7. And the shorter the series, the better chance for an upset. And I get all that. And clearly, the ball did not go off Terry Porter and should have been the Heat ball before Allen Houston ever hits his little leaner ducking in front of Dan Marley. All of that said, I'm sorry. Eric Spoelstra, of course, will never say it. No one on the Heat will say it. But this sucks. It just sucks that you could have a terrific season a year after going out the first round of the playoffs and arguably face the biggest first-round challenge in either conference. I know it's circumstance, but still.
I get that. I get all of that. Do you think they're sitting there afraid of the matchup? Afraid of the challenge?
I think they're sitting there concerned. And if there is a way, and I don't think there will be, on April 10th in Orlando, if they could maneuver out of it, and they can't for this reason, Big O. And I'm going to explain the play-in again for everyone else listening out there. In the NBA play-in, the number 7 and 8 seeds play a 1-game showdown for the number 7 seed. Right now, it'll be Brooklyn at Toronto. Right now, Ontario does not allow Kyrie Irving, an unvaccinated player, to play. Now, we're still a month away from April 12th and the start of the play-in. The whole world seems to be changing, so who knows? But if Toronto holds home court, because Nick Nurse also is a hell of a coach, then you're going to have the loser of that game, number 7 and 8, let's say it's Brooklyn, play the winner of 9 and 10, which right now would be Charlotte and Atlanta, and I think it would be Atlanta. And I think Brooklyn, as the home team, assuming Kyrie plays at home, Brooklyn's changing their rules also, probably emerge at number 8. So what I'm saying is this. The Heat, the last day of the season, can't say, well, if we lose, we're number 2, because they don't know if Brooklyn's going to be 7 or 8. You won't know that until that Tuesday night when Brooklyn plays in Toronto, most likely. Look, perfect world is this. Brooklyn pushes past Cleveland for number 6. 5 games behind with 15 remaining is a long haul. The Heat can help that tonight if they beat Cleveland at FTX Arena. That would be the perfect world. Then the Heat are just playing for 1 or 2. They have the tiebreaker in Philly. They have the tiebreaker in Milwaukee. They have the tiebreaker in Chicago. It would make life a lot easier. All I'm saying is after I watched that, and I kept turning my head to the side like, no, the Nets look freaking fantastic. And that's without the defensive input of Ben Simmons, who will be back for the playoffs.
No, I get all of that. But again, I don't fear Ben Simmons either because he's afraid of his own shadow. So how am I going to be worried about this? And again, I just I get it.
Mr. Orlando Alzugaray again.
I understand it's a tough matchup. I understand they've got a couple of really talented players on that team. I understand all of that. But are they a team? And that's what I don't say.
You know what? Players win playoff series. Go-to men win playoff series. Who's the better player, Kevin Durant or Jimmy Butler?
No, Kevin Durant.
Who's the better player, Kyrie Irving or Kyle Lowry?
Irving.
Okay, and maybe you make
Lowry's the better leader.
Okay,
Irving's the better
I get all that. And certainly you can argue Bam is the better player than Ben Simmons, and I'm not going to argue that whatsoever. You then can go to the reserves and the leftovers on the Nets, although Seth Curry's playing really well. He was a smart addition in that deal in addition to Ben Simmons. That shooting, especially with Joe Harris out, is really helpful for them also. They have the size of Claxton off the bench. Yes, then they have a bunch of fossils otherwise. I agree with that. All I'm saying is last night...
And Seth Curry stops no one.
Yes, but he's a savvy, smart player also.
Okay, I get that.
And the Dragon.
But the Heat score and can stop you.
Okay.
The Nets score, they don't necessarily stop you.
Big O, Heat versus Nets, how many games in that series?
Heat in 6.
But it could go 7, right? You would not disagree with that.
It could go 7. I don't think it will go 7 because I think the defense of the Heat and the depth of the Heat will overcome in that game overall. And I still think Miami is much more of a team than Brooklyn, and that to me is so much more important. You saw what happened. The Heat had all kinds of talent in 2010. But Dallas had the better defense and the better team at that moment. They were more in sync. They had more chemistry on both sides of the ball. And that's what outbalanced Miami. Miami did not have enough people around their stars to overcome all of that. And so there you go. So I just think that I look at the Nets and I say, yeah, there's talent, but it's still not a puzzle that's complete. Where I look at the Heat, if they're healthy, they're complete, they're deep, and they just added an all-star to the roster now at the end of the year, which that guy makes a huge difference if he's healthy.
But it's just interesting, and I have a story posted in the Sun Sentinel about all the tiebreakers, how it all works. If the Heat do drop to 3, and they do get number 6 in Cleveland, I'm up for that. And look, I've never before said, can't wait to go to Cleveland. In that case, I'd be excited to go to Cleveland. And yes, I already did book a hotel room for the playoffs in Cleveland, just in case, because we're getting close. We're just a little bit over a month away. All I'm saying is this. There will be so much scoreboard watching and so much standings watching. And I don't think there is any way possible that the Heat, until maybe 1 or 2 games are left in the regular season, that they'll have an idea on their playoff opponent. And remember, if they finish 1 or 2, they might not know their opponent until 2 days before the start of the playoffs because of the play-in. This is a really smart move by the NBA, the play-in. They have made every single game interesting. There will be very few games, save for Orlando, Detroit, or Houston, Oklahoma City, where there won't be something riding over the last month of the season. Kudos to the NBA.
This is the Big O Show.